Broncos Guru, here we go. Another sunken vessel. We are in the middle of salvage season.
Speaking of being in the middle of salvage season, that reminds me that there are people out there working on the water, and sometimes I think we forget about that, and we forget about who actually has the right of way, and today we're going to discuss that. So hang out guys, it's one of the spiciest subjects in boating. And speaking of spicy, would you like to win one of these spicy Drain Plug Mafia tumblers? Well, as you know, 2023 is the year of giving, and we're giving one away today. All you have to do, hit the like button now, leave a comment at the end of the video, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, just like Spa La Land did last week, who won a tumbler from last week's video. And we will pick a comment at random, and somebody's gonna win a tumbler. But let's get this one started. Right away out on the water is absolutely a spicy subject, and you want to talk about spicy, watch these comments blow up as this video continues. But we're going to start with the highest pecking order, the vessel that has the highest ranking with the right of way, and that is a vessel that is not under command. Now that doesn't mean you're out there trolling with the boys with the boat on autopilot. That means your vessel has actually had something go wrong that has caused you to lose the ability to control it, or quite possibly that your vessel has no power whatsoever. So this requires situational awareness. If you're out on the water and you see a vessel acting erratically or trying to alert you that something's wrong, get the hell out of the way. Next on our list is going to be a vessel restricted in its ability to maneuver. This one gets misconstrued a lot. I even hear people say sailing vessels, for example, can fall under this rule, but that is just not the case. This is designed in vessels that are being used to perform a certain task, such as towing. So for example, if a tugboat's out towing a large barge, it would fall under this rule, but that same tugboat, if it's just under its own power going down the river, will not. And this is why it can get confusing sometimes. For example, this rule doesn't specify a vessel, it specifies a vessel doing a specific type of job. Our next one is going to be a vessel constrained by draft. Yes, I know, there's somebody by the name of Cobnobbler already in the comments saying, BG, that's an international rule. And they would be correct, but we're going to go ahead and follow by it anyway. But this is where things can get a little complex and a little confusing. For example, you probably will not know the draft of the vessel you're about to encounter. So again, you're going to have to interpret this on your own. If you see a vessel staying inside of a marked channel, they are probably doing so for a reason and trying to avoid grounding outside of the channel. If you're in a shallower draft boat, your best bet, go ahead and relinquish the right of way to the vessel that appears to have a much deeper draft, especially in narrow channels. Now our next one is another spicy one, and the next vessel that has the right of way is going to be a vessel that is fishing. But it's a little more complex than this. Once again, people get confused on this one, because one of the big ones is if you are trolling, you are not considered to be fishing, you are still considered to be a power vessel under control. So again, back to that same situation, if you're out there with the autopilot on, enjoying some beverages in the back with the boys with lines out while you're trolling, you gotta pay attention as you may not have the right of way. Our next vessel is going to be sailing vessels. And this rule probably creates the greatest confusion of all of them, because I think so many people interpret this as sailboats have the right of way over powerboats, but this is not the case. This is defined as a vessel that is physically sailing, motor off, and the only propulsion being the actual wind in the sails. And where this one can get confusing sometimes is them blowboys, well, they've got a few tricks up their sleeve. Sometimes they'll leave one sail up and turn the motor on and do what's called power sailing. Now the reality is, in a power sail situation, the sailboat converts back into an actual powerboat. But by leaving that one sail up, it can lead to confusion. Most people are not going to be able to tell whether the vessel is sailing or under power, a way for the blowboys to go out there and maintain that status of having the right of way, so they can leave the autopilot on, kick back, relax, and not really worry about what's going on. And sometimes that autopilot will come back to bite the sailor in the back end, because they might get a little too relaxed. And one thing's for sure about right of way, immovable objects like bridges and islands, well, they're always going to have the right of way.
On! Oh, shoot! Yo! Wait, that's a hit. Boom! Mother sick!
And of course, this will bring us to one of our last vessels on the list, and that is going to be the powerboat. Yes, powerboats typically have one of the lowest rankings in the pecking order on who has the right of way out on the water, but for good reason. Most powerboats in normal situations are going to have the most control, the most ability to maneuver, thus why they rank down here. But one thing I do want to stress is the actual definition of powerboat. I think too many times people think a powerboat is just a little personal runabout. That is not the case. A powerboat can be a 50-foot sailing yacht that's under its own power. It can be a tugboat, a cargo ship. There are many different things that can define a powerboat. And I think this is one of the things that people get confused about the most is what that actual definition of powerboat is. But one of the key things to remember on the water is the main rule is you are to try and avoid a collision at all costs. It doesn't matter who has the right of way. If you can avoid the collision, you need to do so, or you could be held at fault. And the last one we're going to talk about today in the pecking order of right of way on the water is going to be seaplanes. This one actually surprised me when I learned how far down the list seaplanes actually ranked in that pecking order, because I've had plenty of experiences with seaplanes landing around me on the water, and never once have I felt like they felt I had the right of way.
Oh, he got the line. He got the line. He got the line. What a...
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Aquaman Calum, JR Exuma Tours, Bahama Boys, Dakwas 3, Captain Jeff Watkins, John Bogish, Picasso West, Calapa 88, Adam Coolidge, Daddy Rabbit Sport Fishing, and Pancho Bajorquez did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.